So you want to get into freehand sharpening, knife sharpening, but you don't have any stones, or you don't know if the stones that you have are suitable for the job. I've got two basic recommendations. You can go one of two ways. There's lots more ways you could go, but I'm going to just address the two probably most common ways. My first recommendation, let me move this to the side, for anybody starting freehand sharpening is going to be something like this Norton Combination India bench stone. It's fine and coarse, or coarse and fine, however you want to say it. That's the coarse side, that's the fine side. This coarse side is 140, the fine side is 400. This gives you some options. It allows you to cut an initial bevel, or bring a knife to a really good level of sharpness before moving to a finer stone. And a lot of times this stone, you don't need but a few passes on it, or even none at all if you have a new knife, or a knife that's out of the box. If you're buying knives straight out of the box and you're not rehabbing old knives and stuff like that, which I have a tendency to do, this stone might not even be needed. Okay? In that case, what I would actually recommend is a soft Arkansas stone. If you're just sharpening knives straight out of the box, in other words, they've already got a decent bevel cut into them, this will bring that knife to sharp and polish it up for general carpentry work, general work, general pocket knife work, that kind of deal, with zero issues whatsoever. And I've said before on this channel, when I was born, this was all that I had, and it was a little small, narrow little Arkansas stone, soft Arkansas, and I used that puppy on every knife I had, and I never failed to get a sharp edge off of it. So, but if you need a bit more, I would recommend picking this stone up anyway, because it's like less than $25, and it's a slamming good stone. These are all stones. I use soap and water. You can use whatever you want. You can use kerosene. You can use 3-in-1 oil. You could even probably, you could use pretty much anything. I recommend soap and water mix, but you can use 3-in-1 oil. You can use mineral oil. Norton sells a honing oil. Dan's sells a honing oil. I've never used it, but it comes highly recommended, and I can tell you, my soft is from Dan's, okay? Dan's got high quality products at reasonable prices for what he does with them, particularly his Arkansas stones, but it doesn't matter the medium you use. But these two would be my first recommendation for anybody starting freehand knife sharpening. The thing about the Arkansas stones, though, they're a little bit more difficult sometimes to learn, because they're not as forgiving of your angle. Alright? And people point that out a lot. Here's the thing. When you're beginning, you're not going to keep a consistent angle in the beginning to start with. And if you learn on a stone like this, where it is unforgiving, in order to get sharp edges, you're going to have to get that angle perfect almost every time. And you will learn, in my opinion, better sharpening skills faster, and there will be less likelihood of developing bad technique on something like this, because it will not forgive bad technique. That's my personal opinion. These two are my recommendation, my top recommendation for learning to freehand sharpen. If you're new and you don't have anything, these are the ones I recommend. However, there are people that prefer water stones. There's nothing wrong with that. That's a good option to go with. My recommendation for water stone, again, assuming you're talking about a knife that doesn't need any heavy work to restore it, but you're buying a pocket knife from the store to sharpen with, is this. This is a King KW65, I think it is, or KW64, I can't remember, but you'll find it on Amazon for like $30. And it's a 1K or 1000 grit on this side and a 6000 grit on this side. You start here to get sharp and move to this to polish or hone. And unless you have a knife that's got some damage to it, the 1K and the 6K will work just fine for a long time. If you end up with a knife that has some damage to it, then you can go online to Amazon and get like a 400 grit or 600 grit water stone, and you could probably find one on Amazon really cheap. Baramoo. I would encourage you to buy stuff like King or Suhiro. Baramoo, I think, is affiliated with King, and they're a lower price brand that would work well on knives. So, I mean, the other thing about the water stones, though, is you are going to have to pretty much flatten these before each honing or sharpening session, and you'll need either a diamond plate, or I'll tell you what I did for the longest time is this counter is flat, and I would lay 400 grit wet dry paper on it. Just wet the counter, lay the paper down and smooth it out, and it'll kind of stick to the counter, and then spritz that 400 wet and dry with some water and flatten the stone, and that right there is will work just fine without the expense of $60 or $70 for a diamond plate. But these two are my recommendations for these two different options are my recommendation for someone who is looking into getting into freehand sharpening and they don't have a lot of money, or they're not sure what to get. This is a good starter set, either one of these, and you'll find it's a rabbit hole. You'll want more, different stones, different knives, different things. That's the way that it goes. But as a basic starter set, these are my recommendations. Thank you. Bless you. Later.